Last night, Sajid Javid and Rishi Sunak resigned from their posts. The former was Minister of Health. The latter was in charge of state finances. It was a privilege to have been asked to come back into government to serve as Secretary of State for Health and Social Care at such a critical time for our country. So it is with enormous regret that I must tell you that I can no longer in good conscience continue serving in this government. The tone you set as a leader and the values you represent reflect on your colleagues, your party, and ultimately the country. We may not always have been popular, but we have been competent in acting in the national interest. Sadly, in the current circumstances, the public are concluding that we are neither. The public rightly expect government to be conducted properly, competently, and seriously. I recognize this may be my last ministerial job, but I believe these standards are worth fighting for, and that is why I am resigning. In contrast, Education Minister Robin Walker and Children and Families Minister Will Quince announced their departures this morning. All of the resignations have to do with the case of MP Chris Pincher, the now former deputy whip, the person who takes care of discipline in the parliamentary club. Johnson appointed him to the position in February, and earlier to the post of deputy foreign minister, despite hearing that the latter had long been alleged to have engaged in sexual harassment. Both ministers resigned shortly after Boris Johnson gave an interview in which he admitted that the appointment of Chris Pincher was a mistake.
Minister, do you accept it was a grave error to appoint Chris Pincher to your government?
Yes, I think it was a mistake, and I apologise for it. I think in hindsight it was the wrong thing to do. I apologise to everybody who's been badly affected by it, and I just want to make absolutely clear that there's no place in this government for anybody who is predatory or who abuses their position of power.
The cabinet crisis is also rooted in the Partygate affair. It involves alcohol-infused parties at the Prime Minister's office in Downing Street during the COVID restrictions. British media report that Johnson has no intention of resigning and will fill the vacant posts with Tory loyalists. In early June, he won a party vote of confidence in him and will remain leader of the Conservative Party and thus head of government. But the crisis caused by the successive resignations is an opportunity for the opposition.
We need a fresh start for Britain. We need a change of government, and this government is collapsing. The Tory party is corrupted, and changing one man at the top of the Tory party won't make any difference. It won't fix the problems. Let's have a fresh start for Britain. Let's have a real change of government.
To the Prime Minister's disadvantage are the polls. Nearly 70% of those surveyed in the latest YouGov poll want Johnson to step down from office. For the first time during his reign, he has lost the support of a majority of his party's voters. His resignation is wanted by 54% of Conservative Party voters.
He should leave. He should have left a long time ago.
And how long do you think he can cling on?
I don't think he can. Dead man walking.
Why? What makes you think that?
Partygate, lying to get into power in the first place. Clearly doesn't have his team around him. And if a leader doesn't have a team around him, he can't lead.
Yeah, I mean, he had a very difficult time. Who could have predicted COVID? I don't think any Prime Minister could have dealt with that well. But yeah, I'm just surprised he's still there. So I really think he's hours now. We're counting the hours. So let's see.
The Tories are trying to put on a brave face. According to the BBC, citing sources in the government, Steve Barclay is to replace Javid at the Health Ministry. Education Minister Nadeem Zahawi has been chosen as the new Chancellor of the Exchequer. In turn, Zahawi will be replaced by Michelle Donelan.
So today was the first personal tax cut in a decade. I will look at everything. Nothing is off the table. The Prime Minister wants to make sure that we have fiscal discipline. I share that focus with him because if we let inflation get out of control, it is deeply damaging for those very same people that we're trying to help today with that £37 billion of help over the next 12 months. But of course, I will be looking at where else can I make sure the economy remains competitive and dynamic with our European neighbours and, of course, the rest of the world as well. We've got to bear down on inflation. That means being fiscally responsible across departmental spending. You know that, John. The debt we're servicing this year will be at 83 billion. Last year it was at 20 billion. So, a 4 times increase in debt servicing. That's important to remember. That's the sort of the backdrop, the canvas with which I am at the moment responsible. Companies make investment decisions over the long term. One of the taxes they can compare globally is corporation tax. And I want to take a very careful look at all the measures that I can bring to bear down on inflation, but also return to that dynamic economy that delivers growth.
Conservative Party Deputy Chairman Bim Aflami also resigned from his post. Several deputy ministers and secretaries of state have also announced their resignations from positions in the British government. More resignations are expected, and this means a serious weakening of the position of the Prime Minister and his party. If a general election were held in Britain in the near future, it would be won by the opposition Labour Party, but it would not win an independent majority.